Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, back for another painting video. This time Relic Knights and Captain Harker and Caesar, golden skin, 09092. So, something funky's going on with my camera, so I'm not sure if this is working right or not, but B, this is the new sculpt for the character. I'll compare at the end to the old one when I'm done. But just getting the face here. Harker is one of the captains of the Star Nebula Corsairs, and now Pearl White 09100. And he's been around so long, people believe he may be immortal. They wouldn't necessarily be wrong in that case, but some sort of a spirit of piracy. But in his entry, or somewhere in the original Dark Space Calamity book, I think it's near his entry, is a sort of ballad, possibly about his past. Seems he may have been married at one point and lost his family to the Dark Space Calamity at some point before becoming essentially immortal and becoming a pirate. Yeah, I'm having a little trouble focusing because I'm really concerned about my camera and what it is and is not doing. So, looks. I just can't tell. On my end, there are these lines across it. So I'm just very worried. But Captain Harkin is a clear homage to the character Captain Harker from Galaxy Express 39, as well as his own series later on. I can't remember the name of it, but as with most of, or all of my Esbert, I'm doing it in or ciphers, I'm doing it as a sort of metallic color scheme, a pure energy type thing there. So, and next, Phoenix Red 09005. Yeah, got a bit much on my mind today. Definitely have the area well illuminated, but again, I might have to get a new camera. What I suspect is going on happened. This thing took a tumble the other day, and I was filming the last video, and that might have something to do with it. Okay, let's see here. The angle I can see this from is slightly different from what you're going to be seeing it from, just because of the positioning of the camera. Alright. Now, some of the details on his shirt I will be picking out in other colors later. I'm more or less mimicking the color I put on the original version here. I did not. I painted the original Captain Harker long before I started doing these videos, so no video for the original exists. Not on my channel, anyway. So, I'm hearing bad sounds coming from my computer, so I'm just going to wrap this up and let this dry. And hope nothing too catastrophic has happened off camera. Alright. Let's try to scoot my camera a bit closer. That might work okay. We'll see if that works a little better. So, Shield Brown 09161. moves. So while I'm using an almost identical color scheme between this version and my original, one notable difference is on the original I used black primer, on this one the primer is white. So that will affect how it looks in the end. I'm going to get all these belts, and it looks like I missed a part of his leg. I'll have to pick that out later. Or let's see if the paint's still wet. This paint's still wet enough, I can touch that up real quick. Okay. Belts and bags and holsters. Oh boy, there's a piece of flash I missed right there. That's annoying. I'll have to take a hobby knife to get that off. Allergies still haven't quite left me for the season yet. And then the boots, but I will be picking out pieces of them later in another color. Excuse me. Kind of amazed it seems to flare up when I start filming. Alright. I haven't touched Caesar yet outside of that layer of metallic white because he's going to be done almost entirely in the lighting effects, since he is a cipher being made out of pure esper. Okay. Then let's get all the brown I want to do. Excuse me, so Woodstain brown 09160 for the hair. I'll be going a shade darker on this hair than I did originally. Let's take wild, free-flowing mane here. Okay, let that dry and move on. Okay, Wasteland soil was an already painter color. Still tweaking the layout of the lighting. I'm still concerned about these bars that are showing up on my end of things. Please let me know if they're showing up on the video. In the end, can't quite tell actually. And this is just going on the cape. So in the original version I used a different violet, and the color is not available anymore. Kind of more muted, dull looking purple. Unfortunately, that does happen sometimes where a certain color is just not being produced anymore. And that is not thinned out enough right there. This combination I'm using will work. I've done it before, but it is not quite the same as what I did last on the original version. So trying to avoid bubbles and popping them when they emerge. And I am also trying to make sure I get it into all the little holes in the cape. As far as the holes in the cape go, Harker doesn't seem the type to be negligent about keeping his equipment in good order. Seems more like he lets the holes stay in his cape as a show of what he's been through. Sort of like honor marks or something along those lines. Being really careful around the face and hair. That's a bit too thick. For some reason, sometimes this white primer repels the paint. I'm not certain as to why. It's another thing I'm going to have to figure out. Okay, and I'll switch to a larger brush for this last bit. There's that nice big skull insignia on the back, which is a detail that was not on the original. I'll pick that out in another color later. For now, we'll just go rough here. Do want to make certain the eyes and those little holes are filled in now. Maybe too much water, maybe that's what's doing it. Okay. I'm gonna let that dry before I move on, but I'm getting there. Alright. Well, a big chunk of that last clip got knocked out and I didn't catch it in time. Plate mail metal. This will go along the weapons and a few pieces of the outfit. So, we'll do this. Armored plate over the boot. Let's see here, there we go. Oh, that's a bit too runny there. Make sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second again. That's better. And that little excess, we'll just try to scoop that up a bit. That didn't work out that well. Alright, it's okay. And then this insignia on the shirt, which could very well be armor. And then let's see here. I'll go ahead and get the entire pistol in the steel now, but I'll pick out pieces of it in gold later. Getting really paranoid about my dropped frames rate here just because of what happened near the end. Span of about 10 or so seconds, it somehow decided to drop over 700 frames, which is not happy. Okay. Now along here. Let's see. Just going to do the cutting edge here. Pick out the rest of the sword in gold later. That is a big, thick bead on the blade I don't want right there. Let's just take care of that. Okay, let's see. Then gold, gold, gold. Okay, yeah. The rest is going to be in gold pretty much. So, back in a bit. Okay, wrapping up base coats. Okay, where is it? Antique Gold 09050. Yeah. I was trying to think it might be coming down with something as long as this sort of sniffling that's been going on has been lasting, but just getting a few weapon details here. Going along the sword. So I do have the original sculpt of Harker and Caesar sitting right next to me for a reference. I'll show them side by side at the end with the new one. The new one is definitely an improvement, though, in terms of a more dynamic pose and better details. So. Too thick. Now here, what do I want to pick out? So this won't be quite like the original pistol, but then again, the original pistol was of a completely different or radically different design, so making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second there. Maybe I'm allergic to making videos. I hope not. Still some backlighting issues, but I do have a second lamp now. Just gonna have to keep trying on these till I get it right. I'm being really careful here. I'm picking out the skull emblem on the back. And his pauldrons. This style fell out a long time ago. Okay. Dropped a few more frames, but not bad. dabbing in there for the detail. Okay, let's see. A little more on that belt buckle there. Okay, I think that's it for the base coats for Harker himself now. Little shield brown again, 09161. I like to do this last, the basing last, because I want the model to stand out more than what, drop my brush, than what it's standing on. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and use this. Same color as the boots, which I normally wouldn't like to do. Don't like to have two separate parts with the same colors adjacent, but gonna let it go in this case. So there's Harker and Caesar. I haven't done much on him yet, but I will be once I hit the shading here, because he's going to be done with almost exclusively lighting effects. Alright, that's base coats. Shading's next. Okay, time to shade. Matte black. I'll be thinning. So normally for a shade, you'll want to thin your paint out into a wash with usually 1 part water to 1 part paint. But for the matte black and other particularly dark colors, I'll need to go 2 to 3 parts water. Notice today that resculpts for Delphine and Ekis are up on the Ninja Division store, so I will definitely be getting those as soon as I can. But just going along the hair here. If I have to touch up the neck, that's fine. And some of that got into the eye now. You can use just black to shade the entire model. In fact, that's what I used to do, but it can also completely drown out other colors, so just be advised that's a possibility. Blackened Steel 09205. And if I sound funny, it's because I'm getting over a bug. Thought it was allergies, turns out it's an ear infection, so I'll be fine. I've got medicine. Just I spent most of the day asleep, and I'm kind of a wreck right now, but this is something to do on a day where I'm otherwise more or less bored out of my skull from spending an entire day convalescent, which I despise. Okay, that's all the steel, so I'll let that set for a minute, but I can start on Caesar and go with a nice bright Phoenix Red 09005. So I'm doing this as a lighting effect. Hopefully I pull this off right. As a cipher, Caesar is made of pure essence, which is more or less, or Esper, excuse me, is more or less magic. So I'll be doing other colors on him as well. But trying to keep things fairly bright for a start. I think I'm starting to slaughter the English language here. So maybe I need to take another nap. Looks a bit more orange than red, but Just see how it goes. I wrap up. Okay, that's a start, so let all that dry up. A little more at the bottom here where it's about to hit the base, and then go in there. Okay, next up, Sun Yellow 09008. This can end up getting a little funky, but it should be acceptable. Again, I am thinning this out into a wash and essentially trying to do the color with exclusively lighting effects. And then Ancient Bronze 09049. Yep, still. Now here I want to avoid the eyes if I can. Though it shouldn't matter much if I end up nicking them by accident because the shade that'll go on that'll be much darker. Okay. Yeah, that's all I can do right this second. Let that dry before moving on. Okay. Next, Leaf Green 09011. Thinking maybe I should have gone a bit darker on the red for Caesar, but oh well. Just gonna roll with it now. So notice I'm using the entire side of the brush, not just the tip here. It might get a little funky as I finish up, but I'll worry about that when I hit it. So it looks like the yellow I tried to do on his cheeks didn't work out so well. Okay, that happens. Not gonna stress about it. I'm just very tense about my frame drop here. Everything's been going on lately. And then, what was that? Nothing of consequence. Woodstain Brown, 09160. It's a bit much. But I want to get the claws and the beak, as well as this will be the shape for the base. So this might get a little funky down here, but it'll be all right. Now for Captain Harker. Gloves. And all the pouches on his belt. Being careful not to nick that skull. Carefully getting the brown of the scabbard. Trying not to hit the red of his clothing. And the boots and base as well. Avoiding the silver I've already done. Okay, still keep an eye on that frame rate because technical difficulties are a thing. Again, the more and more technology advances, the more it ends up like the end scene of that movie Spaceballs, where the heroes have hit the self-destruct of the enemy's battleship, and the cancellation button for that self-destruct is out of order. Alright. A little more there. And let that dry. Okay. Grimoire purple. Which is horribly plugged up, so. Let's try this again. Well, to quote the great philosopher Goofy, something wrong here. There we go. Just horribly clogged. One thing that does make it slightly more difficult to work with the Army Painter paints is the Reaper Master Series is numbered. You can generally go a number lower than your base coat for your shade and a number higher for your highlight. With the Warpaints, you have to eyeball it. So. sure I'm not dropping too much in the way of frames. But no, unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult to get on camera, at least the underside of things, because I have to look at this from above. And the camera's mostly going to be catching the base here, it looks like. Still having some of these. That's what I'm looking for. Heavy lighting issues, I suppose, is the best way of putting it that I can think of right this minute. But I'm going to have to keep tweaking this layout till I get it right. Definitely making improvements, but still take time. But it seems I've unintentionally started a flame war on the Relic Knights forums on Facebook. All I was doing was commenting about an inconsistency with base sizes from the first edition, and it's amazing how in the age of the internet, the smallest, most innocuous thing can erupt into something just completely insane. Alright. We control the... Yep. So that gets the cape, and once that's dry, I can get his clothing there, and that'll be shaped, and I can highlight the detail from there. Well, the cape's still wet in places, but it's dry enough I can start on the clothing. Fire Red 09004. It's a little tricky here, and my hand's just a little twitchy right now. Still recovering from that bug. Getting better, but... Okay. There, a little there. So, looks like Harker's pretty much just wearing a body glove with a few little personal accoutrements on it. Which, when you look at a lot of sci-fi franchises, is a pretty common thing. Okay. Trying to absorb a little of the excess that got on his insignia there. And then I still need to do his face. So Golden Shadow 09091. Getting the neck there, that got way out of hand. Okay, I'm gonna grab a brush that's dry and use that to absorb some of the excess around here, and that's much better. Once it dries, I can highlight in detail. Okay, starting on eyes, matte white. Doing this essentially as a base coat. I think I might have messed up my brush a little bit. But just carefully filling in or I'm trying to carefully fill in the sclera, but there we go. There's a little too much water in here, so I'll have to wait before I get the pupils in. Caesar. Okay. Once that dries, I can move on. Oh, come on. Alright. So I changed my mind about how I was going to do the gun. I'm going to do a lighting effect in the barrel, so I've already prepped it with matte white. So Coppery Orange 09102. This will be the associated Esper color, Chaos Orange, which I'll also use to line the base if I'm done. Thinning this out with 2 to 3 parts paint to 1 part water. And just dabbing that in there, trying to let some of the light show through. And then matte black. Just to dot the eyes with. Seems I may not have gotten the Harker's left eye very well, but those look a little big, but we'll just roll with it. Caesar. Trying to get them closer to the front. So he's looking forward. A little bigger than that, otherwise he'll look insane. Alright, let that dry up, and I can highlight and wrap this up. Okay. Alright. A little more disorganized back here than I thought I was. Moving on to highlights, using a dry brushing technique. Golden highlight 09093. So to dry brush, no water, straight paint. You want a ragged feathered brush, kind of like this. And we'll just switch to the side that hasn't been used too much yet. Rubbing most of the paint out on a paper towel till it looks like there's nothing left. And then dust the area to be affected. Made his pupil way too big, but I'm just going to roll with it in this case. Alright, now the hair shield brown 09161. I'm going to adjust this light a little bit so it's on a little better. Alright, let's see if that works a little bit better. So I'm fairly certain at this point, okay, that brush is no good anymore. I'm fairly certain at this point that these lines on my screen are just this blow my camera took, so I'm gonna have to buy a new one. And that is what it is. It'll happen next month, in October, so we'll just see what happens when it happens, or what I end up getting. Alright. Yeah. Fire orange 09006. Which is not mixed properly, so try that again. Much better. Frame rate, and I'm good on that. Just need an appropriate brush if I can get a grip on one of them. Go. Focusing on the most readily visible areas, so. Not every little piece is going to get done. Now for Caesar, I'll do the same thing. And that thumping you hear is my downstairs neighbors blasting their stereo again. But I'll take noisy, irritating neighbors over psychotic neighbors any day. And then just wrap up Caesar since. So lemon yellow 09009. Or at least get his feathers wrapped up on. He's the only one with these colors. Frame rate still great. Focus needs some work, I think. So in the end, I didn't pull off the glowing effect quite as effectively as I would have liked, but reasonably well. Pine green, or pale green 09012. Is at least brighter than, at least nice and bright. So having a light like this is really getting my eyes and hurting them, so I'm gonna have to figure out something else for next time. Just a little more straight paint on this wing. Although I suppose I could have left it on Caesar since it's going to have the same color, so Driftwood Brown 09162. Going over belts, pouches, boots. The scabbard's hidden enough, I'm not going to do that. Though hidden just barely enough to warrant omitting it. Because again, I am focusing on the most readily visible areas. And now, let's switch to a larger brush. face. For Caesar, the beak, claws, and the base. Okay, and Caesar's done with the highlights. Oh boy, just sent Harker on a ride. Okay, next. True Silver 09207. So far, just one frame drop. That is great. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, this one. Brush selection can be critical. You want the right size for the job. It's going to shine up the armor on the boots. And the insignia on the chest. The pistol. Blade on his cutlass. Which in all likelihood is monomolecular or other high-tech shenanigans. I can't think of a better word. My brain dropped the clutch there for a second. Orc blood. It's another Warpaints color. And there's a larger one for this. Do a bit here on this surface. The bulk of it though. Go on the back, going against raised edges to catch it better. And I'm deliberately avoiding the skull. Okay. I'm going to switch back to a small brush again. Oh, I've got a heap of them here. Well, it's halfway dry. Get his collar as best I can without nicking anything else. New gold 09051. Oh boy, knock that over. Okay. I'm hearing funny noises, but I'm not dropping any more frames, so that's good. Okay. Yep, that just gets it down to the emblem on the cape. Alright, that's not bad at all. It's highlights. Alright. Last step. Coppery orange again, 09102. A little more than that since I've got 2 to do. Flathead brush. Somehow has a ton of talus in it. I don't know how. Talus is another word for rock debris that I use in basing some models. Alright, I'm just going to do this over the edge. Careful not to hit my basing here. If you're using flock or talus or other materials, you'll do this before applying those. Making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames because I'm hearing my computer making weird noises again. You gotta love it when your computer is part of the problem. Okay, it's Harker. And here's Caesar. Using about the same amount of water for a base coat, just enough to thin the paint, not an excessive amount. And there we go. Whoa. New sculpts for Caesar and Captain Harker. Now let's take a second and compare the originals. So, new Harker. And here is the old sculpt from the older starter box. So, much more dynamic pose, much larger. Now, Caesar, new and old. So, again, larger, much more dynamic. So, there we go. Zeneda's next. Until next time, I am Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games, signing out.